Something scratched the store door. Every night, the cat was pointing to the bell above Maple and Main books jingled like it had good manners. Daylight meant paperbacks, coffee breath, and the old floor learning new squeaks. Night meant the hum of the soda cooler and Elena Morales balancing the till like a prayer. The first scrape came at 12:11 a.m., a dry scritch against the glass. Elena glanced up from the counter. Nothing. She unlocked the door anyway and stepped into air that tasted like rain and bus exhaust. "Hello," she called, soft because she lived upstairs and owed sleep to her neighbors. A cat answered. Black and white tuxedo, thin but glossy, eyes like new pennies. He stood on the doormat and lifted his paw like a gentleman asking to dance. Then he put it down and scratched the door twice, precise like he was ringing a bell only Elena could hear. "You're polite," she said, smiling despite the hour. "Kitchen's closed. Come back at breakfast?" He didn't look at the bowl she set down. He trotted to the corner, stopped, looked back at her, and mewed, one quick syllable. Then he ran to the alley and did it again. "Look, meow, wait." "Okay," Elena muttered, grabbing her hoodie. "I'm following a cat at midnight. Mom would be thrilled." The alley behind the bookstore was a map of other people's lives. Restaurant bins, a florist's cardboard stacks, a storm drain cut into the curb. The cat hopped onto the drain's grate and crammed his paw into the bars, claws fishing. A sound answered from below. Faint, papery mews, the kind that come from creatures who haven't learned to be loud. "Oh," Elena breathed. "Oh no." She lay flat on the wet pavement and put her ear to the metal. Tiny voices, more than one. The cat darted in circles, desperate and careful, as if anxious to help but terrified of stepping wrong. Elena called 311 and then called Rita, the rescue lady whose magnet lived on the bookstore fridge because paperbacks lead to soft hearts. 10 minutes later, Animal Control Officer Hannah Cole pulled up, blinkers washing the alley in orange, and Rita from Paws and Pistons arrived in a hoodie that said, "Foster fails and proud." "Storm drain litter," Hannah said, peering through the grate. "Mom probably moved them here for warmth and got spooked. Or somebody put them here." Her mouth tightened on the last words. The cat stayed on the grate, tail flicking, eyes pleading like a person who had already told the story once and wasn't being believed. "We'll believe you," Rita murmured to him, to Elena. "You met Dad." "Dad?" Elena asked. Rita tapped the cat's ear. No tip, not fixed, but the way he hovered told his part. "He's not the mom. Markings on his belly tell me that much. But some Tom's guard, and some cats just choose." Public Works rattled up with a Lift bar. They popped the grate and a breath of air rose from the dark. Wet leaves, cold metal, milk. Rita clipped a headlamp to her cap, belly crawled to the opening, and whispered the way people do when a room is a scared thing. "There you are," she said. "Hi, Peas." 3 kittens blinked from the culvert, 2 gray tabbies and a coal-black smudge, tucked into the corner of a soggy tote bag stuffed with a sweater. The sweater's fabric had a smell that said someone had once meant well and then hadn't finished. A 4th shape huddled around them. Wrong size, wrong coat. "That's not a kitten," Hannah said, surprised into a laugh. "Is that a dog?" Rita lifted her head, eyes wide with delight and fury. "It's a little terrier. He's wedged himself around them like a hot water bottle." The terrier squinted up, shook, and put a paw over one of the kittens like a parent checking a blanket. He didn't growl. He didn't move. He just held the corner of the world he could reach. "Oh, friend," Elena whispered, throat thick. "You've been working overtime." They did it the way people should when tiny lives are involved. Quiet, slow, nobody heroic, until the part when heroism is just patience with gloves. Rita slid a soft loop over the terrier's neck, murmuring useless, perfect nothings. Hannah scooped the kittens 2 at a time into a towel like warm rolls. The terrier wouldn't budge until the last kitten was lifted. Then, and only then, he allowed himself to be carried out, body curved around an absence he'd been filling. On the pavement, Elena wrapped the kittens in her hoodie and tucked them against her skin because book people are good at borrowing warmth. The tuxedo cat, Dad, or maybe just friend, stood at her knee and chattered like he'd finally gotten through to the slow humans and needed them to know it. Hannah scanned the terrier with the wand she never left in the truck. Beep, a chip. The database spit out a name. Milo. Owner. Ruth Kim, address 2 blocks over. Note on file. Widowed. Dog is my son. Please call. Hannah dialed. A tired voice answered on the second ring. Milo? Ms. Kim, Hannah said, smiling at Elena and not apologizing for the hour. We have him. He's safe. He's been babysitting. 10 minutes later, a woman in a cardigan over pajama pants shuffled down Maple with keys clutched tight. She saw Milo and made the sound people say for reunion and relief. The tuxedo cat, dad, or maybe just friend, stood at her knee and chattered like he'd finally gotten through to the slow humans and needed them to know it. Hannah scanned the terrier with the wand she never left in the truck. Beep, a chip. The database spit out a name. Milo. Owner, Ruth Kim, address 2 blocks over. Note on file. Widowed, dog is my son. Please call. Hannah dialed. A tired voice answered on the second ring. Milo? Ms. Kim, Hannah said, smiling at Elena and not apologizing for the hour. We have him. He's safe. He's been babysitting. 10 minutes later, a woman in a cardigan over pajama pants shuffled down Maple with keys clutched tight. She saw Milo and made the sound people say for reunion and relief. He squirmed so hard his whole outline went wobbly, then stopped and checked the towel. Ruth crouched, peered at the kitten faces peeking out, and covered her mouth. I heard him crying last night, she said, voice trembling. He darted out before I could grab him. I thought he'd found a squirrel. He used to chase squirrels with my husband. She stroked Milo's head. He kept running to the door tonight, looked back at me like he wanted me to follow. I didn't understand. The tuxedo cat rubbed his body along Milo's flank and then sat on Ruth's sneaker like a stamp of approval. Ruth blinked, then laughed, a little drunk on joy. You made friends, she told Milo. To Elena and Rita and Hannah. What do I do now? We warm them up, Rita said. We feed them. We figure out if Mom is nearby. We fix whoever needs fixing, him included. She scritched the tuxedo's chin. We get everybody safe. Elena bit her lip, then blurted what her chest had decided without asking her wallet. They can come upstairs for the night, she said. I've got the guest room. It used to be my sister's when she visited. It's empty. It won't be empty tonight. Ruth blinked hard. Strangers don't usually offer rooms. Elena shrugged. Bookstore people are bad at pretending we don't care. They set up 2 crates in Elena's spare room, one for Milo and the kittens with a heating pad tucked under half the floor, one open for the tuxedo cat, who declined containment and installed himself on the windowsill like a lighthouse. Rita showed Elena how to mix kitten formula and how to hold a bottle so a tiny mouth wouldn't aspirate. Hannah left her card and a promise to swing by at dawn with a litter tray, puppy pen, and the sternest lecture she had in her for whoever had used a tote bag as a survival strategy. At 3:43 a.m., the house quieted. Elena sat cross-legged on the carpet, Milo's chin on her knee, 3 kittens purring like cheap fans under a towel, and the tuxedo cat staring at the door the way beings stare at paths other beings take. For the first time in months, since the long, hard summer when her mother got sick and her sister moved 2 states away and the bookstore's pipes burst, Elena felt the shape of purpose drop into the room like a chair. They named the tuxedo cat in the morning because a thing that shows up and makes the night better gets to be called something. The florist next door voted for Teller. He liked to tell the news. Ruth preferred Captain. He had captained the rescue. Elena wrote Poe and Orion on a sticky note because of course she did. He chose for them. When Elena said Captain, he flicked his ear and looked. When Ruth tried Milo's friend, he swished his tail like that was fine. But Captain made more sense. Over the next week, the small apartment became a schedule. Bottles every 3 hours, warm, damp cotton balls to help little bodies do what little bodies need help doing. Milo insisting on sleeping outside the pen at night, facing the door, because jobs don't end when the people turn off lamps. Captain patrolled the windowsill like an officer on the late shift. When the kittens cried, he trilled and tapped the bars, then sat so close that their paws reached out to him between wires. Rita canvassed the block with found litter flyers in case a frightened mother cat needed collecting. No one came. The vet found no milk in the bodies of the scrappy neighborhood queens who wandered in for snacks. The tote bag told its own sad story. Some person with a sweater and a panic had thought a drain was a good idea. "They're safe now," Ruth told Milo when his chest made anxious huffs. "You did enough, boy." Word got around the way good news sometimes does, through cappuccinos and church bulletins, and a kid who told her teacher, who told the principal, who told the PTA group chat that the bookstore was bottle feeding 3 new employees. Customers came with tuna, tiny blankets, and more advice than anyone needed. A jar appeared on the counter with a handwritten label. Captain's Crew Fund, formula, spay, neuter, vet checks. Eleanor watched a city that had felt sharp lately soften around a bowl of kittens and a terrier who believed in them. She swapped out the display in the front window for a hand-lettered sign. Open late because kittens. 2 weeks later, the kittens tried the world on their own feet, bumbling across the carpet like wind-up toys. Milo tolerated pounces with a dignity earned by long nights and a sore back. Captain allowed exactly 6 head bonks and then retreated to his perch, looking smug and necessary. Hannah came by with a microchip scanner and a mobile neuter appointment because love should come with logistics. Captain objected to the carrier on principle and forgave everyone on arrival home because dinner is dinner. Milo got a new tag. Meal 0. Call Ruth if found. I'm probably on a mission. When the kittens hit 8 weeks, applications stacked like library books. The florist took the coal smudge, naming her Peony. The PTA president adopted the Tabby twins together because siblings who survive storm drains deserve to keep a language. Rita cried over the forms a little and blamed allergies. On adoption day, the store held a tiny party. Paper cups, cupcakes, a tip jar with a sticky label. "Thank you, Captain." Ruth brought photo prints. Milo curled around 3 little commas. Captain on the sill watching like someone paid him. Elena added a brass plaque near the door, the kind of small marker that makes strangers stop and smile. If something scratches the door at midnight, open it. A cat might be pointing to what needs saving. After, the nights got quiet again in the old way. Cooler hum, soft thunder of pages turned in other apartments. Elena missed the bottles and didn't miss them. She filled the silence with the memory of claws on glass and the feeling of being nudged into being brave by a creature with better priorities. At 12:11 a.m., a week later, she heard it. Scritch, scritch. Her heart sprinted to the door before her feet. She opened it on instinct. Captain sat on the doormat, tail curling like punctuation. He didn't scratch again. He just looked past her shoulder at the help wanted card she'd stuck under the register and then back at her, slow and obvious. "Oh," Elena said, smiling helplessly. "You're hiring yourself." He stepped inside without waiting for salary negotiations and leapt onto the front counter like a thing returning to inventory. He curled up on the stack of staff pics, Milo asleep, kittens adopted, Ruth smiling with her cardigan, Rita with bottle in pocket, Hannah with scanner up like a badge, and went to sleep with the bell's jingle in his ear. Sometimes a scratching at the door isn't about coming in for food. It's a summons to an alley, a grate, a tote bag, a terrier doing his best, a neighborhood ready to be better, a life that needed you to get up and go. The cat wasn't asking for a handout. He was pointing to the place where help was trapped. If this story made you glance at your own door and listen harder, like and share it. Subscribe to Next Kindness, where the next thing that happens is grace.